Well, the time has come. I haven't done this list in a while, but this is titled The Top 10 Worst Movies of 2022. Now, while these are maybe arguably some of the worst, it's also just movies that I found disappointing through the year that I felt like could have been better, as well as just movies that maybe some people will love and some people won't, but these did not work for me, and these are my least favorite ones. These are the ones that I just never plan on rewatching or could ever rewatch, but I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. I typically do not do videos like this, but there was a lot of stuff that I want to talk about this year and typically just get my frustrations out before we head into the new year. With that said, let's jump right into this list. My best of the year list is coming tomorrow, so no worries. This is the only negative Nancy we're being today. And at my number 10, it is Crimes of the Future. Now, a lot of you guys are going to hear me talk about other films on this list and be like, this film does not belong on there. But for me, as a Cronenberg fan, I did not like this movie. I keep going back and thinking about issues that I had with this film, whether it was just certain world-building issues, whether it was certain developments within the story. I found the prosthetics and everything like that, and even the performances to be absolutely magnificent, but there's just something that held me from arm's length the entire time I watched it. I went back and watched it again, and I still felt disappointed. And I think disappointment is an understatement. I genuinely actually do think this is one of his weakest films, sadly. And every single element that I wanted it to talk about, it just felt like it was a muddled mess of ideas and themes that just never came together. And again, I know there's people who love this movie, so if this is one of your favorites, I'm sorry. On my number 9, it is Easter Sunday. Now, Joe Coy, I think, is a really funny comedian, but he cannot make a movie. And I understand there are some people out there who'd be like, Zach, this is one of the best films of the year. Not for me. I did not like this movie. I thought it was very cringeworthy at times. I think some of the humor worked. I liked the family element. I actually wish they would have played on that more. And again, I understand the Filipino outlook. I got a lot of shit on my fucking review for this thing. But let me tell you, I'm Filipino. My grandmother was Filipino. My family still has elements of those stuff. So I get it. But the movie itself just did not hit the elements that I really needed it to do. And when it was actually focusing on the family, that's where I was like, this is working. There's so many different subplots, so many different things. It's too long, and overall, I did not like this movie. But you know what else I didn't like? At my number 8, it's the Pinocchio movie that came out on Disney+. I did not like this either. The thing with this movie is, you have Tom Hanks being Geppetto. That's like perfect casting right there. Then you have the guy who directed Back to the Future. Now, Robert Zemeckis has not done a lot of great movies recently, but I was thinking, I'm like, if he's going to come back, this is going to be the movie. Now, you know what makes me mad about this movie? I think the visual effects are good. I think the story is pretty much all the same. They changed some things, but overall, it's the same story. It's the fucking ending. The ending for this movie pissed me off so much, it went from just being a mediocre film to trash for me. Like, honestly, and the reason I say that is because when we finally watched that final ending and we didn't get the satisfaction of him becoming a real boy, yes, I'm spoiling it, it goes against everything that the story was saying in this one, which was different than the Del Toro Pinocchio, which again, I'm not going to get into spoilers for that ending, because that movie might end up on another year of the list, which is great. This movie just did not hit any of the departments I needed it to, and I was very disappointed with this one, and I honestly did not like it. And then up next, we have Deep Water. This is a movie that came out on Hulu. It was Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas. It could have been this erotic thriller, and overall, it became a cliche, cringy mess that I knew what was going to happen. It was obvious, it's clear as day, and while it had amazing ideas and amazing concepts, and even some pretty damn good performances, it was one of those movies that, again, it's the same thing with Crimes of the Future. It kept me at arm's distance. I didn't know how to feel about this movie. I didn't know how to feel about its characters. I love the ending, but everything kind of leading up to that, I really just didn't think worked overall for this film, and really left it as a detriment where this movie should have been better. Speaking about movies that should have been better, my next pick is Spin Me Around, which stars Aubrey Plaza and, of course, Alison Brie. Love both of them. You star them both. You throw them both together in a movie. This is going to be great. It could be this new kind of mystery comedy, this dramedy to it all, specifically with what Aubrey Plaza has been doing lately with her career. And I found Spin Me Around to be a joke. This is one of the most boring movies of the year for me. I think that I honestly have not met one person that liked this movie. So if you did like this movie, please let me know. I think the performances are good. I think there's elements in here, but the movie has like two different sides to it, an ending and a beginning, and everything in the back half, I was just like, what is going on? Everything, the front half, I'm like, this is boring, besides when it's Alison Brie and Aubrey Plaza hanging out. And overall, this is the definition of a movie that will put you to sleep. Speaking about movies that could put you to sleep, we have the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie, man, besides that bus killing scene, this movie was a headache. The choices that they made for the story itself. You know, when you go watch a slasher movie, typically the story is not a big thing. You just want to see people get killed. You want to see things like that happen. Story is so bad in a slasher movie that I couldn't even enjoy the kills. That says a lot. I think there's interesting ideas here. I think what they're trying to say about millennials and things like that and Gen Z kids, there's a lot of cool and, again, trendy things, I guess, but I just wanted to watch everyone die. And the kill scenes were cool, but it just went on and on and on, and the dialogue was not good. I get it. This is a lot of what slashers are. But this is, like, the trashiest of trash when it comes down to slasher movies. And I honestly just sat there watching it, and I'm like, this is why I've not watched any of these other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies since the original. Because they're all sucky. And to be honest, this was the only other one I've ever seen since the original. I don't care to ever rewatch any of them or even go through them. So this movie was terrible, just to say the least. Up next, this is kind of the last Liam Neeson action movie I'm ever going to watch, unless it gets good reviews. And that is Blacklight. I'm done with Liam Neeson action movies. This guy is one of the world-class actors, and he turned in another crappy action film. Like, he did his Realm, he did some ones that surprised me, like Cold Pursuit, and then he did Blacklight, which I thought, again, could have been one that surprised me. So then when he made the other one called Memory this year, I didn't even watch it. And why did I not watch it? Because Blacklight was a piece of crap. It was boring, and it was a movie that, when I went to watch it, I just found myself falling asleep watching it. It's a movie that I truly could not get through. I like Liam Neeson. I think some of the political thriller aspects of this movie was cool, but this movie, nothing happens in. And Liam Neeson, I'm praying, please do something else than action films. You clearly don't like doing them. Then up next, we have I think this was actually my first film I watched in 2022 for a new film, and that is The 355. And what a fucking great thing to start off this year with. Amazing cast. Great concept, executed in absolutely one of the worst ways that I've seen since Mile 22. If you've ever seen that movie, the action for that gave me damn headaches. 355, I thought, had terrible action as well. It was baffling choices that they made, and overall, besides the main cast, I think this is one of the worst action thrillers that we've gotten in a while. I wanted so much more from this movie. You had Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Penelope Cruz. The list literally goes on and on and on from every single person you can go and watch in this movie, and they all are great. The ladies are fantastic. This could have been the start of a new franchise, but sadly, it was the start of a headache. Now we're down to our last two, and one of the movies you have not heard about, which is my number one, but my second movie you've probably heard about, and that is Morbius. Morbius, for me, I've seen twice. The first time I watched it, I didn't hate it, but I watched it and said, I hate this movie because of the end credit scene. I genuinely despised this movie because of the end credit scene. And it pissed me off walking out of the theater. So then I had to go see it a second time because I told my friend and my fiance I would go watch it with them. Went and watched it with them. They did not like it. I hated it more. Not because of the end credit scene, but because of how baffling the choices are in this movie. I mean, the end credit scene I could just go on a rant for hours on how it makes no sense to the continuity of what they set up in No Way Home. But just speaking on that in general, this is a movie that when you watch the decisions and you decide that about $80 million went to this movie, why? That $80 million could have gone to something else that was more original, more unique, that could have still garnered an audience. And this movie did not garner an audience besides a meme base. This is just it. This is probably the worst comic book film I've seen in years. I genuinely was baffled by this. I would say this is even worse than the David Harbour Hellboy film. Like, arguably, this is worse than the David Harbour Hellboy film. And that's saying a lot, because that movie sucked too. So take that as what you will if you still have not watched Morbius. My least favorite film of the entire year is Sharp Stick. This is a movie that I almost didn't even finish. I was watching it at Sundance, and yeah, I stopped watching it, and then I said, I should go back and finish it. I went back and finished it because I was watching it at home, and I had 10 minutes left, and it honestly didn't change my feelings at all. I think this is it's an interesting movie, and it's an interesting idea about one girl who wants to explore her sexuality. And I think some of the elements of that are quite interesting to explore, but I've seen it done better in other movies. This movie tries to be a comedy, but it's cringy. It's kind of gross. I couldn't jive with the vibe and the humor of what they were trying to put in here. I think the performances are good, but other than that, this is just such a forgettable movie that when I watched it at Sundance, I was just kind of surprised that this even got into the slot. So with that said, that is my least favorite film of 2022, and these are my top 10 least favorite films of 2022, as well as just movies that I found myself being disappointed in. Like, for instance, Crimes of the Future I should have loved. Deep Water should have been an incredible film. Pinocchio, I mean, you have fucking Robert Zemeckis. Come on, that could have been great. Spin Me Around, I was absolutely pissed at. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The 355, I mean, these are all movies that should have been better. And for me, labeling it as the worst films of the year is just, these are my least favorite ones that I'll never watch again. Maybe you guys enjoyed them. Let me know down below if you disagree with me. Look forward to my best of the year list coming out tomorrow, and of course a couple other lists rounding out the end of the year before we head into the new year. So thank you so much again for watching this, and of course until next time, stay classy.